Hello, everyone, and welcome back to This Day in History, our nightly look back at a specific day in history, where we take a look back at a specific day in history, examine the events that day, the historic context in which the events took place, and the historic ramifications of the event. We also take a look at some people that were born on that day and some people that died on that day. As always, if you have not yet, please hit that big subscribe button, the bell notification icon to be alerted anytime I post new content, and tell a friend. And without any further ado, this day in history, April the 8th. And on this day, in 1974, Hank Aaron sets a new home run record. Coming in to the game, Hank Aaron had tied Babe Ruth's record of 714 career home runs in the fourth inning of the Atlanta Braves' home opener at Fulton County Stadium in front of a crowd of 53,000 fans against the Los Angeles Dodgers, broadcast nationally by NBC. Hank Aaron hit a homer off of Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher Al Downing. And it was amazing. Hank Aaron, an African American in the Deep South, had a standing ovation, thundering ovation. He rounded the bases, and as he did, two young 17-year-olds wanted just to hit him on the arm, and tell him good job. Those men would later go on to success. One of them became an optometrist, and the other became a real estate agent. And leading up to this, there was a lot of fears that Hank Aaron would be murdered by someone. He received thousands of death threats through the mail. But on that night, when he broke the record, it was nothing but love and appreciation. He would go on to play for 2 more years, finishing those seasons with the Milwaukee Brewers. He would end his career with 755 home runs. And his record would stand until 2007, when San Francisco Giants slugger Barry Bonds hit his 756 home run. Bonds would end his career with 762 career home runs. So that is the new record. There is a lot of controversy about Bonds and his record, but nonetheless, on this night in 1974, Hank Aaron broke the record that many thought was unachievable, that had been set by Babe Ruth. And Hank Aaron is an icon and a legend. And in 2002, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And in 1982, he took his rightful place in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. A true legend and man of class passes a Sultan of Swat on this day in 1974. Some births that occurred on this day. In 1918, in Chicago, Illinois, Betty Ford was born. Mrs. Ford, of course, served as First Lady of the United States of America from 1974 until 1977. Prior to that, she had served as Second Lady of the United States as the wife of the Vice President from 1973 until 1974. Mrs. Ford was a game-changing First Lady for many reasons. She enhanced awareness of breast cancer by having a double mastectomy while First Lady. She supported the ERA and abortion rights, and was a real icon for some people in the women's rights movement. And this upset a great many of conservative Republicans. Her husband was also supportive of those two measures. as was another prominent Republican and his wife, who would become president later. She was also one of the most candid first ladies in history, addressing every hot button issue of the day. And she helped later change the national conversation around alcoholism and substance abuse after she announced her own battle with alcohol and substance abuse. And she would found the Betty Ford Center, which is, of course, a famous and leading treatment center for alcohol and chemical dependency. Um, she was presented the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1991 by George H.W. Bush, who was, of course, that other Republican who supported abortion rights, and his wife, of course, did as well. And the Congressional Gold Medal in 1998. She died in 2001 at the age of 93, the same age that her husband, former President Ford, died at in 2006. Betty Ford, born on this day in 1918. Births that occurred on this day. Deaths that occurred on this day. And I hope I'm not botching this name. Auguste Deter. 1906, 55 in Frankfurt, Germany. Miss Deter is not a name that leaps off the page that many people may know. But she is very infamous. I don't believe is the right word. But what she is known for has affected many, many people. And that is, she was the first person diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She began showing signs of dementia in 1890, and her husband really couldn't provide her the care she needed because he was a railway worker, and he was unable to care for her. So he had her committed to a mental institution in Frankfurt, Germany, in November of 1901. This is where she would interact with Dr. Alzheimer's, and he would do many sessions with her, and eventually he would leave the facilities she was at. After her death, he requested that they send him all of her medical charts and records and her brain. And upon examination of the brain, he would note the characteristics and note them of what would later become known as Alzheimer's disease. And in modern times, she would be diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. So she is the first person that we know of that had this. And of course, that is a horrible, horrible affliction that many people suffer from throughout the world, and has caused a great deal of pain. A United States president, of course, passed away from it. A former Supreme Court justice is battling it, and many former governors and U.S. senators have come down with it. So it's a very terrible, terrible affliction, and there needs to be a lot more research done into it, and people need to look at possibly the promise that stem cell research has in that field, and hopefully when that is done, we can honor Miss Dirte, uh, because she was the first. And I hope that eventually we look more toward her case than we currently do. She is known, and she is recognized throughout the medical world, but I think in society she needs to be given a more prominent position when discussing this issue. So that's my thoughts on that. Couple quick notes here for you. Of course, the big news of the day is that Bernie Sanders suspended his campaign for president. At some point tomorrow, I will probably put up a video on the state of the race where I see it now. So we'll possibly do that tomorrow. Maybe pushed back to Sunday, but I'm going to get one of those out really soon. Because we've had big changes in the race today now that Joe Biden is officially the presumptive nominee for president. So I will see you all tomorrow. Have a good night.